Hello, this is Judy, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the December 29th, 2025 issue of the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I will do my best to pronounce all names and words, yet please forgive me if I do not. Our first article today is under GTA, and the title is Strong Wind Warning Still in Effect for Toronto on Monday. Chance of flurries through Saturday. Winds could gust as high as 90 kilometers an hour in Toronto and other parts of the GTA on Monday, Environment Canada said. And it states that areas with significant ice buildup from freezing rain will be the most vulnerable and utility outages are possible, according to the agency. And this article is by Joshua Smith, who is a staff reporter. The freezing rain warning that has been in place across much of the GTA has been lifted, but high winds are still expected Monday before giving way to potential flurries through New Year's Eve and into the weekend. An alert that Environment Canada issued Sunday about heavy rain and freezing rain for Burlington, Oakville, Mississauga, and Toronto, among other cities in the area, no longer appears on the agency's website. However, a separate alert issued Sunday calling for strong winds to blow through the city Monday remains in place. Strong southwesterly and northwesterly wind gusts between 70 and 90 kilometers an hour are expected to start in the morning and then ease off in the evening due to a strong cold front. Areas with significant ice buildup from freezing rain will be the most vulnerable. Utility outages are possible. Significant disruptions to services and travel are likely, and significant damage to building and/or trees is also possible, according to Environment Canada. The agency recommended securing loose objects, staying away from fallen power lines, and preparing for disruptions to transportation, services, and utilities. This week's forecast. Toronto can expect cloudy skies along with a 40% chance of rain showers early Monday morning and then a 40% chance of flurries later in the morning. About 2 centimeters of local blowing snow is in the forecast for the afternoon in the city, with wind gusts potentially reaching 80 kilometers an hour in the afternoon. The temperature will fall to minus 3 degrees Celsius in the afternoon, with the wind chill making it feel like minus 13. Monday night will be cloudy with a 60% chance of flurries, local blowing snow, winds still gusting up to 80 kilometers an hour, and a low of minus 8 degrees Celsius that will feel more like minus 13 in the evening and minus 18 overnight. Tuesday is expected to be mainly cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries, winds gusting up to 60 kilometers an hour, and a high of minus 3 Celsius, with wind chill making it feel like minus 18 in the morning and minus 10 in the afternoon. Tuesday night calls for clouds with a 60% chance of flurries and a low of minus 5 degrees Celsius. There could be some snow in the forecast for New Year's Eve, as the forecast calls for clouds with a 60% chance of flurries and a high of minus 3 degrees Celsius on Wednesday, with the clouds and 60% chance of the white stuff remaining into the night with a low of minus 13 degrees Celsius. Then from New Year's Day on Thursday and through Saturday, a 30% chance of flurries is expected every day. Thursday will see a high of minus 5 degrees Celsius during the day and a low of minus 9 degrees Celsius at night. Friday will bring a high of minus 3 degrees Celsius and a low of minus 7 degrees Celsius at night. On Saturday, a high of minus 1 degree Celsius is expected, followed by a low of minus 3 degrees Celsius at night. Sunday will be cloudy with a high of minus 3 degrees Celsius. And Joshua Smith is a staff reporter with the Toronto Star. He can be reached at JOSHUASMITH @ symbol thestar.ca. The next article is under Federal Politics. The title is Carney's Foreign Policy Shift to Trade. Security prompts questions about human rights. The Liberals insist they are still standing up for human rights globally while seeking investment from China, India, and Gulf countries. And there's a picture of Prime Minister Mark Carney, and the caption reads, and he's standing and talking, and the caption reads, Prime Minister Mark Carney responds to a question during question period in the House of Commons on Parliament Hill in Ottawa on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. And this photograph was taken by Sean Kilpatrick of the Canadian Press. And this article is written by Dylan Robertson of the Canadian Press. As Prime Minister Mark Carney puts trade and security at the center of Canada's foreign policy, observers say Ottawa is also shifting how it asserts its values on the world stage. The Liberals insist they are still standing up for human rights globally while seeking investment from China, India, and Gulf countries. But a change in priorities is prompting some criticism and changing how Canada trains its diplomats. They won't say out loud that we're going to be less interested in values, but clearly that seems to be the case, said University of Ottawa professor Stephen Brown. Last month, Carney told reporters that while Canada no longer has an explicitly feminist foreign policy, his government is still upholding the values that include defending LGBTQ plus rights abroad and combating violence against women. In quotes, yes, we have that aspect to our foreign policy, but I wouldn't describe our foreign policy as a feminist foreign policy, Carney said during the G20 summit in Johannesburg. His comments came after mounting criticism from human rights advocates on other themes, such as Carney courting investment from the United Arab Emirates amid widespread allegations the country is fueling ethnic violence in Sudan. Former Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy has accused Carney of taking a, in quotes, bootlicking approach to U.S. President Donald Trump by muting a focus on Canadian values in order to try salvaging trade access. He has criticized the government for being part of a, in quotes, a breakdown of collective courage globally. For him, that includes not calling out the U.S. for sanctioning members of the International Court of Justice, including a Canadian. Axworthy also laments that Ottawa is not mounting a robust campaign to stop countries from executing the Ottawa Treaty that Axworthy had brokered to prevent the use of landmines. In November's budget, the government signaled it would scale down funding for global health initiatives, in quotes, where Canada's contribution has grown disproportionately relative to other similar economies. Brown, whose research focuses on foreign aid, said that effectively means, in quotes, we were being leaders and we don't want to be leaders anymore. He said Canada is increasingly seen by its peers as placating the Trump administration instead of asserting its own vision of human rights and international law. In quotes, reputation is a currency and it can count for a lot in international negotiations, Brown said. In quotes, if people just see Canada as too afraid to disagree with the Trump-led United States, if Canada won't stand up for Canadians abroad, then Canada can be seen as a pushover, and that weakens us on the international level. Foreign Affairs Minister Anna and it's ANAND, has insisted that Canada is still advancing human rights, which she outlined as a third pillar of Canada's foreign policy alongside economic security and defense in her inaugural United Nations speech as Canada's top diplomat. She told the House Foreign Affairs Committee on November 27th that shifting geopolitics require Canada to change how it talks about values. In quotes, we are going to make sure that our commitments to gender equality, human rights, women and girls will continue in a way that recognizes the new geopolitical and fiscal context, both of which demand a different frame, she testified. That new frame seems to have changes how Global Affairs Canada trains its diplomats. Stephen Nagy, Nagy, a Canadian who works as a politics professor at the International Christian University in Tokyo, has been commissioned by GAC at various points to train diplomats. In his recent Indo-Pacific Regional Security course, Nagy said the department didn't ask him to touch on gender and identity issues despite this being part of the scope in previous years. In quotes, that tells me a lot about the direction, he said. If these were priorities, that course would have had at least 2 hours on it, but it went through multiple layers of bureaucracy and they didn't ask for any inclusion of those issues. Nagy, who is a senior fellow with the Asia Pacific Foundation, said the Trudeau government had put environmental, labor, and gender issues, in quotes, at the forefront of its engagement across Asian countries who wanted to instead emphasize trade, security, and supply chains. In quotes, whether it was Beijing or Tokyo, Seoul, Singapore, or Hanoi, the values-based approach to Canadian diplomacy in the region was by and large seen as a schizophrenic at best and completely misguided at worst, he said. He said it is sensitive in many Asian cultures to raise LGBTQ rights, with the exception of Taiwan. At a November 2017 summit in Vietnam, former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau infamously skipped a meeting aimed at launching a trade deal that had been termed the Trans-Pacific Partnership and later agreed to join the pact after the words, in quotes, comprehensive and progressive were added. People still bring it up, which is shocking to me, he said. Brown said Canada's feminist foreign policy was a major part of how the Trudeau government was seen on global issues, along with a focus on human rights, but he argues Ottawa lacked coherence in advancing those issues. He said trade agreements touched on these issues, in quotes, in a non-enforceable way, with language that might nudge countries to do more, but without actual repercussions for not doing so. On aid, Ottawa had specific targets for women benefiting from development, spending, and peacekeeping training funded by Canada. In diplomacy, there were informal efforts to boost the numbers of women in senior postings. But Brown said the policy didn't aim to structurally change how aid, the military, or diplomacy shape women's lives. Quotes, they didn't transform the core in any way, he said. To me, they all seem pretty ad hoc and often at the margins of what was really going on in those various departments and programs. Under Carney, Ottawa is still trying to advance gender equality, but with an economic focus. Ahead of the G20 summit in November, Canada's envoy listed priorities that included, in quotes, advancing gender equality as a key contributor to inclusive and sustainable economic growth. That phrasing was a shift from Ottawa's past emphasis on thornier issues at the G20, such as sexual health and reproductive rights. Nagy said the economics framing is a smart way to have an impact, in quotes, by just slightly tweaking the expressions of a human rights policy instead of being seen as advancing issues that might be controversial in certain countries. In quotes, we need new formulas of trying to achieve those human right objectives, which are really, really crucial to human development, he said. Nagy said the Trudeau government was still seen as a valuable partner in Asia for its work in areas like detecting vessels that are trying to evade radar detection for fishing or evading sanctions. He said having Carney in charge has boosted hopes across Asia that Canada will provide more of this practical assistance. in quotes, I hear great relief in capitals in the region. They're happy that critical minerals and energy resources are going to be exported to the Indo-Pacific region and that pipelines are being built and that Canada can be the kind of reliable energy and critical minerals superpower that can help keep the region going, he said. They're, in quotes, they're relieved that they don't have to talk about gender politics and identity politics anymore. This report by the Canadian Press was first published December 29, 2025. This next article is under Europe, and the title is U.S. Offers Ukraine 15-year security guarantee as part of a peace plan, Zelensky says. U.S. President Donald Trump hosted Zelensky at his Florida resort on Sunday and insisted that Ukraine and Russia are, in quotes, closer than ever before to a peace settlement. And there's a picture of Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, and the caption reads, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky speaks at a joint news conference with President Donald Trump following a meeting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club Sunday, December 28, 2025 in Palm Beach, Florida. And this photo was taken by Alex Brandon, and it's an AP photo. And this article is by Ilya Novikov, and that's Novikov of the Associated Press. The United States is offering Ukraine security guarantees for a period of 15 years as part of a proposed peace plan, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Monday, though he said he would prefer an American commitment of up to 50 years to deter Russia from further attempts to seize its neighbors' lands by force. U.S. President Donald Trump hosted Zelensky at his Florida resort on Sunday and insisted that Ukraine and Russia are, in quotes, closer than ever before to a peace settlement. Negotiators are still searching for a breakthrough on key issues, however, including whose forces withdraw from where in Ukraine. In the fate of Ukraine's Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia, and that's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, one of the 10 biggest in the world. Trump noted that the months-long U.S.-led negotiations could still collapse. In quotes, without security guarantees, realistically, this war will not end, Zelensky told reporters in voice messages responding to questions sent via a WhatsApp chat. Ukraine has been fighting Russia since 2014, when it illegally annexed Crimea and Moscow-backed separatists took up arms in the Donbas, a vital industrial region in eastern Ukraine. Details of the security guarantees have not become public, but Zelensky said Monday that they include how a peace deal would be monitored as well as the, in quotes, presence of partners. He didn't elaborate, but Russia has said it won't accept the deployment of Ukraine troops from NATO countries. As indications suggest, negotiations could come to a head in January before the fourth anniversary of Russia's full-blown invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday claimed that Russian troops are advancing in the eastern Donetsk region of Ukraine and are also pressing their offensive in the southern Zaporizhzhia region, and that's Zaporizhzhia region. Putin has sought to portray himself as negotiating from a position of strength as Ukrainian forces strain to keep back the bigger Russian army. He also emphasized at a meeting with senior military officers the need to create military buffer zones along the Russian border. In quotes, this is a very important task as it ensures the security of Russia's border regions, he said. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, Peskov, on Monday said that Putin and Trump were expected to speak in the near future, but there was no indication the Russian leader would speak to Zelensky. French President Emmanuel Macron said Kyiv's allies will meet in Paris in early January to, in quotes, finalize each country's concrete contributions to the security guarantees. Trump said he would consider extending U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine beyond 15 years, according to Zelensky. The guarantees would be approved by the U.S. Congress as well as by parliaments in other countries involved in overseeing any settlement, he said. Zelensky says he wants the 20-point peace plan under discussion to be approved by Ukrainians in a national referendum. However, holding a ballot requires a ceasefire of at least 60 days, and Moscow has shown no willingness for a truce without a full settlement. This next article is under personal finance, and the title is Your Month-by-Month Financial Checklist for 2026, including key dates you'll want to remember. Follow these expert tips to help you master your money in 2026, 1 month at a time. Setting big financial goals for the year can feel overwhelming, so we simplified it with a month-by-month checklist. And this article is by Laura Grady, who is a personal finance reporter. A new year offers a fresh start for Canadians when it comes to their money. One TD survey found that 61% of us made a New Year's resolution related to our finances last year, from saving money to paying down debt and cutting spending. Setting big financial goals can feel overwhelming when you think about everything you want to achieve all at once, so we simplified it with this month-by-month 2026 financial checklist, including key dates you want to remember. January, start tracking your spending. The beginning of a new year is the best time to do an audit of your spending in the previous year. Take a close look at your income, assets and liabilities, monthly expenses and debts, said Stacy Yatchuk, and that's Yanchuk Oleksy, Oleksy, CEO of Money Mentors, an Alberta-based nonprofit credit counseling agency. This is also a good time to review the areas in which you're overspending, spot unnecessary subscriptions, and make note of emotional spending patterns. The goal is to, in quotes, make sure every dollar you spend is giving you as much fulfillment and value as possible, says Nicole Victoria, money coach and author of, in quotes, More Money Now, a Millennial's Guide to Financial Freedom and Security. Knowing exactly what you're spending each month and on what will help you create action-based goals instead of outcome-based ones, Victoria said. For example, instead of, in quotes, save $10,000 in 6 months, try, in quotes, set an automatic transfer for $500 every paycheck into my high-yield savings account. February, review your retirement savings strategy. The deadline to contribute to your RRSP for 2025 is March 2nd, so use February to prepare. Crunch the numbers to see how an RRSP contribution could impact your tax refund. If you do expect a refund, Victoria says, plan to invest it so that you're better prepared to pay tax on withdrawals during retirement. Now is also the time to set up an automatic RRSP contributions for each payday in 2026. Check your contribution limit for the year. You can find this through your CRA My Account online and figure out how much you can afford to save from each paycheck. That way, Victoria says, you won't have to scramble to come up with a big lump sum at the beginning of next year. March, start building an emergency fund. Most Canadians aren't financially prepared for emergencies. A 2020 poll from RBC found that 60% worry they don't have enough money to cover unexpected expenses. In quotes, having zero money for unexpected expenses can set you far back, says Patty Lovett-Reed, Chief Financial Commentator at Home Equity Bank. The idea of setting aside enough money to cover a few months of expenses can seem daunting, but Lovett-Reed says automatically weekly deposits is much less overwhelming. For example, if you set aside $120 each week, you'll have $6,500 at the end of the year. April, file your taxes and don't leave money on the table. You have until April 30th to file your income tax return. If you owe the CRA money, it's due at the same time. Those who are self-employed or whose spouses are self-employed have until June 15th to file their taxes, but any taxes owing are still due April 30th. You can save money by taking the time to look into tax deductibles and or credits you may be entitled to, says Lovett Reed. Look into employment expenses, child care expenses, donations, and more to make sure you're not missing out on potential savings. May, create a debt repayment plan. The biggest mistake people made when it comes to paying off debt is only making the minimum payment, says Lovett Reed. So make sure you're budgeting to pay off as much as you can each month. Victoria recommends writing down every debt you have, including balances, interest rates, and minimum payments. Seeing it all in one place takes you out of avoidance mode and gives you clarity on what to tackle first. She suggests using the avalanche method, paying your debts by tackling the ones with the highest interest rates first, so that you're reducing the amount of money you're losing to interest every month. In quotes, this alone can save people thousands of dollars over time, she adds. This is also a good time to check your credit report. Check for any errors that need to be corrected and look at ways to adopt better habits and to build stronger credit score over time. June, watch out for lifestyle creep. Summer is one of the easiest times to overspend, Victoria said. Her suggestion, choose 3 things you care about spending on, such as a week at summer camp for the kids, a cottage getaway, and a day at a theme park, and let the rest go. Quote, start transferring money into those categories now so you can enjoy summer without stressing over your credit card bills later, Victoria says. The goal is to prevent reactive or emotional spending before it starts. July, build your wealth through investing. Use this month to build your investing confidence. In quotes, learn how the stock market actually works, including average market returns, the power of index funds and ETFs, and why time in the market always beats trying to time it, Victoria says. If you're already investing, using July for a mid-year portfolio audit. Look at your asset mix, your fees, whether anything needs to be rebalanced, and make sure you're not chasing hot investments that don't align with your plan. August, set up automatic contributions for everything. As you get ready to wrap up summer and move into fall, get your finances back on track by setting up automatic payments for your bills, savings, investments, emergency funds, etc. That way you could set it and forget it. In quotes, automation is the secret to staying consistent, Victoria says. In quotes, when your financial life runs in the background, you free up mental space and build wealth without relying on discipline or motivation. September, go for that promotion at work. Take advantage of the motivational back-to-school spirit in the air and reflect on where you are in your career. Is it time to ask for a promotion or a raise? Victoria suggests setting up a meeting with your boss to go over their expectations and how you can exceed those expectations. Come prepared with proof that your results and your plans for the future. In quotes, that's kind of like your brag book, Victoria says, which can clearly show the value you bring to the business. In quotes, you can be the best worker in the world, but if nobody knows what you're doing, you're not going to get the recognition for it. October, update your estate plan. With the end of the year in sight, October is a good time to revisit your plans for the future. Review important documents, including your life insurance policy and your will. Make sure everything is up to date, including your beneficiaries and executor, especially if your family has experienced any big changes in the last year, such as births, divorces, or deaths. November, take advantage of credit card rewards. If you're still using a student visa that earned you points for free movies, but now you're more interested in saving on food, you could be missing out on cash back from a grocery store credit card. In quotes, once you figured out what points you need, you should get a credit card that offers you those points, says personal finance and travel expert Barry Choi. It's worth checking out what welcome bonuses or offers are available too, especially for those planning to travel. Choi points out that you can sometimes book a round trip ticket to Vancouver from Toronto for 50,000 Aeroplan points, and a sign up bonus for an Aeroplan credit card may be worth the same amount. December. Complete a net worth statement. For the past 31 years, Lovett Reed has used the lazy days between Christmas and the New Year to sit down with her husband and complete a net worth statement. Quotes, we list everything that we own and everything that we owe, and then we make sure that we understand the interest, Lovett Reed says. This is a great time to get curious, says Jacek Olesky, Oleksy. How's your credit? How much debt do you have? Did you put money into savings? Reviewing your net worth and asking yourself those questions will help you plan better for 2027. Laura Grady is a personal finance reporter for The Star. You can reach her via email at lgrady@thestar.ca. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Toronto Star on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. This next article is under Canada, and it's French actor Brigitte Bardot, remembered in Canada for fighting seal hunt. Bardot died Sunday at the age of 91. She was an animal rights activist and a vocal opponent of Canada's seal hunt. And there's an AP video of her, and it says, star of some 28 films, a recipient of the French Legion of Honor, and a controversial animal rights activist. She has been called a legend by French President Emmanuel Macron, and that was on December 28, 2025. And this is an AP video that's under it. I didn't watch the video, it's just pictures of her and what she did. And this article is by Catherine Morrison of the Canadian Press. Brigitte Bardot, a French actor and animal rights activist who died Sunday at the age of 91, is being remembered in Canada as a vocal opponent in the country's seal hunt. Bardot, known as one of the greatest green sirens of the 20th century, was the first high-profile celebrity to speak out against Canada's seal hunt in 1976. The following year, she traveled to Newfoundland and Labrador to witness it herself. Asked by reporters what her plans were for the trip, Bardot replied, in quotes, to save baby seals, that's all. During that trip, she was photographed holding a baby harp seal, known as a white coat. The CBC reported her protest caused a major reduction in the price of seal pelts, affecting the livelihoods of people in fishing communities in Atlantic Canada and in the Arctic. In 2006, Bardot returned to Canada to protest the commercial harp seal hunt. During that trip, she hoped to meet with then Prime Minister Stephen Harper, though the Conservative government declined a meeting. The Guardian reported that at a press conference while in Ottawa, Bardot said she was, in quotes, pleading, and that she wanted to see the, in quotes, barbaric massacre stop before she died. Seals weren't the only Canadian animal Bardot sought to protect. In 2022, Bardot condemned a Montreal suburb's controversial plan to kill most of the deer living in a local park. Bardot published a letter on her foundation's website in which she asked the mayor of Longueuil, Quebec, to stop the, in quotes, planned crossbow slaughter in the Michel Chartrand Park. In quotes, if the death penalty is pronounced for these poor animals, teams of hunters armed with their terrible crossbows will invade a usually peaceful place popular with families and tourists and sow death in the heart of your city, the letter read. Ultimately, 105 deer were killed in an operation the city said was needed to restore the ecological balance in the park. The Fisheries and Oceans Canada website said that the government monitors the seal harvest closely. It said changes to marine mammal regulations in 2009, in quotes, further enhance the humaneness of the annual seal harvest and include a 3-step process to ensure animals are harvested quickly and humanely. The website also says the rules stipulate that only seals that have reached the age of, in quotes, self-sufficiently can be harvested. The harvesting of harp seal pups, known as whitecoats, and hooded seal pups, known as bluebacks, is illegal in Canada and has been since 1987. The website says the seals that are harvested are self-reliant, independent animals. Ingrid Newkirk, founder of the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, known as PETA, P-E-T-A, said in a statement the nonprofit organization will miss Bardot, who she described as, in quotes, an angel for the animals. Newkirk said Bardot was a vegetarian for years and a strong voice for all species, noting she sold her jewelry and other possessions to start a sanctuary and defend animals. In quotes, she once said that only through protecting animals did she truly bloom, and what we call on the public to honor her memory by doing something kind for animals today so that the seed she planted continue to flourish, said Newkirk. Other celebrities who have condemned Canada's seal hunt include Pamela Anderson, Paul McCarthy, and Sarah McLachlan. The Brigitte Bardot Foundation, created in 1986, is dedicated to animal protection. It calls for the end of several practices, including animal shows, animal testing, and bullfighting. The website includes information about Bardot's work to fight the seal hunt and features a photo of her with a baby seal on its homepage. A post made on the website in September 2024 said Bardot continued her fight for seals even as she turned 90. Last year, the European Union launched a review of its ban on importing seal products. A group of Canadian senators from Yukon, British Columbia, and Newfoundland and Labrador called last year for Europe to repeal its seal products ban, arguing the socio-economic impacts of the ban have been, in quotes, disastrous for communities along Canada's east coast and in Nunavut, and that's Nunavut. They also said the conversation around sealing was, in quotes, rife with misinformation. The Brigitte Bardot Foundation website, on the other hand, says Bardot sent an open letter to the president of the European Commission last year, calling for her to focus on improving animal protection rather than reversing measures. And this report by the Canadian Press was first published December 28, 2025. This next article is an opinion article, and the title is Crime is Down, Rents Are Down. There are many reasons for Toronto to feel up about 2026. And this article is written by Mark Elliott, who's a contributing columnist. And Mark Elliott is a Toronto-based freelance contributing columnist for The Star. If you follow some of the popular and more sensational Toronto-based social media accounts, you might get the impression that Toronto these days is a bit like Gotham City. Criminals roam the streets. There's homelessness in every park and on every subway train. Lawlessness reigns. The algorithm will feed you images and videos that make the city look scary and hopeless. But I'm a data guy, not a social media guy, and the data of late is showing real reasons to believe that things are getting better. There are numbers that offer numerous reasons to feel hopeful about the city in 2026. Let's start with crime. Stats from the Toronto Police Service show that it's down significantly this year. As I write this, the city is on track to see a significant decline in major crimes this year. Robberies are down nearly 20%. Car theft, which got a lot of focus in recent years following a wave of grand theft autos, is down more than 25%. The most violent categories have shown the most improvement. Shootings are down more than 40%, while homicides are down 50%. And the Toronto Police Board heard recently that the high priority police response times are down 20% this year, meaning the cops are getting where they need to get faster. After a few rough years, Toronto is getting safer. There's still a need to bring the crime rates down to the pre-pandemic levels, but the trend is towards a safer city. We're not quite Superman's metropolis yet, but we're no Gotham City. On homelessness, too, there are some promising signs. A report to the Toronto Council earlier this month noted that in October 2024, there were about 12,240 people in need of shelter in Toronto. A year later, in October 2025, the number had fallen to 8,971 people. It's still a crisis. On the average night this year in November, a month that saw its share of cold and snowy nights, 190 people were in need of shelter were still turned away due to a lack of beds. That's unacceptable, but it's worth acknowledging that the number is way down from the 319 turned away on average each night in the same month a year ago. There are even reasons to feel good about the state of housing in the city. While much has been written about the plight of those who tried to make a quick return and investing in pre-construction condos that are now selling for way less than they hoped, the good news is the glut of condos coming onto the market has helped to bring down the rental market to a more reasonable level. The December rental market report from rentals.ca and Urban Nation shows the cost of a one-bedroom in Toronto is down more than 6% this year, with rents reaching their lowest point since 2022. And with more rental units are coming soon, the construction of rental units in the GTA is at a 50-year high as developers switch their focus away from the condos. And while I acknowledge this column is inspired a bit by the desire to spread good cheer for this holiday season, I'm not just putting on rose-colored glasses here. I'm an optimist, but I'm not naive. There's a lot of work to do on all these fronts. The city should be safer. TTC vehicles, parks, and libraries should never be pressed into service as makeshift shelters. Nobody should find themselves sleeping on the street because shelters are full. And the city needs way more affordable housing. In 2026, an election year for Mayor Olivia Chow and members of the Toronto Council, this city will still need ideas, big ones, bold ones, but we won't need despair, we won't need fear-mongering, and we certainly won't need anyone trying to stoke division. I trust the data more than your social media algorithm, and the data gives us reason to believe that the city is shaking off its extended post-pandemic hangover, and that the first steps we take into the new year should be hopeful ones. This next article is under sports, and it's about the Maple Leafs. And the title is How the Maple Leafs Unlock the Potential of Long Shot Prospect Harry Nancy, and that's Nansi. The Leafs took a swing on Nancy's raw tools in the last NHL draft. It's starting to pay off. And there's a photo of Harry Nancy, and he's on the ice with his hockey stick and a puck, and he's playing, and it says Harry Nancy has 37 points in 36 games for the OHL's Owen Sound Attack this season. And that photo was taken by Richard Lawtons, and it's a Toronto Star file photo. And this article is by Elias Hussein, Hussein, of the Toronto Star. Harry Nancy tried to soak it all in at his first NHL training camp. Slotted into the third and final group of players, mostly young prospects the Maple Leafs' fifth-round pick in this year's draft, watched as the first two groups hit the ice before him. The pace quickened after each drill. The intensity along the boards heightened. At one point, Leafs forward Dakota Joshua stiff-armed a defenseman to the ice. Nancy took note. This was the level he wanted to reach. In quotes, it was actually amazing to see just how strong they are, Nancy told the Star. The 18-year-old forward summer experience training in Toronto left a mark. This season, Nancy is lighting up the OHL with 37 points in 36 games with the Owen Sound attack, emerging as one of the league's most improved players and a surprising bright spot in an otherwise depleted Leafs prospect pool. Born in September of 2007, the Nepean product was never the fastest or strongest kid on the ice growing up. He relied on skill to beat the competition, like when he erupted for a 6-goal, 2-assist game in an under 18 AAA less than 2 weeks after his 15th birthday. However, he hit a growth spurt and his game needed refinement. Across his first 2 seasons with the Attack, the now 6'3" Nancy struggled to keep up with his frame and posted just 32 points in 108 games. Still, the Leafs bet on his raw tools this past June, drafting him 153rd. In quotes, the scouts really believe he has a lot of untapped potential, both in terms of his hockey sense and ability to grow, Leafs assistant general manager Haley Wickenheiser says, and that's Wickenheiser. Heading into the off-season, Nancy saw skating as the element preventing him from competing at a higher level, so he went back to work, living in downtown Toronto with fellow 2025 Leafs pick Matthew Hlakar, Hlacar. Nancy dedicated his first off-season away from family to developing that skill. He trained with Leaf skating coach Paul Matheson to add a boost to his stride. They focus on explosiveness, coordination, and edge control. In quotes, Harry had never been exposed to what a full summer of hard training looked like at the NHL level, Wickenheiser said. It was a clean slate for our staff. He also practiced intensely with older players, including Leafs defenseman Morgan Rielly. He worked to improve his puck protection along the wall and spent long hours in the gym to fill out his long frame. He cut his stick by about 5 inches to help improve balance. In quotes, that's just what you have to do to make it to the next level, Nancy said. Despite being sent back to Owen Sound during Leafs training camp, his confidence remained high. After training over the summer, the OHL felt noticeably slower, allowing him to get off to a hot start with 10 points through 7 games. He also returned with more elements to his game. Rather than playing on the perimeter and attempting to side handle out of situations like he used to. Attack head coach Scott Ray said Nancy is finishing checks more often and using his frame to generate offense. That's been helpful on the power plays, where he has 18 points, 13 assists, and a net front presence. And of his 37 total points, 27 are assists. In quotes, his vision was really good, Ray said. I never thought he had the vision that he actually was showing. This year, Ray noticed Nancy often lost puck battles because of his skating and balance, typically from taking a hit and falling. This year has been different. Quotes, now he's taken a hit and he's more balanced, more center of gravity, Ray said. It's one of those things that's going to come with maturity, and he's still a really young kid. Also playing a key role in that development is former Leaf Kyle Clifford. The 2-time Stanley Cup winner moved into a player development role with the Leafs front office after finishing his playing career with the Marlies last season. The Leafs typically pair new prospects with staff who are a good personality fit. Known as a hard-nosed, physical player, Clifford matches up well with a fifth-rounder, said Wickenheiser. Clifford speaks with Nancy a few times weekly over Zoom, studying shifts from recent games. During the season, the ex-Leaf travels to Owen Sound to work with the forward. Nancy also meets regularly with the Leafs nutrition staff and off-ice strength and conditioning coaches. You see how much Kyle's investing in him, Wickenheiser says. When someone invests in you like that and the player takes it and runs with it, it can be really powerful. Ilyas Hussein is a Toronto-based digital producer for The Star. You can reach him via email ihussein@thestar.ca. This next article is under food and drink, and the title is 10 Toronto restaurant meals under $10 Our Food Reporter Loved in 2025. Every week, Karen Liu, LIU, travels the GTA in search of the most delicious and affordable dishes the city has to offer. Here are his top value picks from 2025. And these are Toronto bites that won't break the bank. 10 meals under $10 to try this year. And this article is written by Karen Liu, who's a food reporter. Toronto is full of incredible eats, but finding them shouldn't have to be a splurge. Every week for my newsletter, The Best Thing I Ate This Week, I travel the GTA in search of trusted, affordable recommendations. After a year of hunting for the city's most delicious and budget-friendly dishes, I've narrowed my 2025 travels down to 10 standout bites that all come in under $10. From comforting classics to hidden gems, these picks prove you don't need to spend a fortune to eat well in the city. Number 1 is Happy Konji's beef congee and rice roll combo, which is $9. This warming Cantonese breakfast pairs thick, savory rice porridge studded with tender ground beef and delicate rice noodle rolls that stays silky, not gluey. It's a deeply comforting, unfussy meal. Number 2, carnitas, chorizo, and affordable tacos from the Migustos, and that's Migustoes, Mexican cuisine, and they're $4 to $5 each. Made-to-order corn tortillas create a generous fillings from juicy, slow-cooked carnitas to smoky adula tofu and mushrooms. On Taco Tuesdays, the price drops even further, making this one of the city's best taco deals. Number 3, mixed shawarma wrap at Pita Way, $5. This snack-sized wrap comes filled with chicken, beef, or a mix of both at this long-standing but unassuming takeout spot just outside of College Station. It's finished with lettuce, tomatoes, onions, chickpeas, pickles, hot sauce, and house-made toum, T-O-U-M, to help you meet your daily veggie quota. Number 4, Poga at Nem Nem, and that's P-H-O-G-A, and then Nem is N-E-M, N-E-M, $10. A light yet deeply flavorful chicken broth, springy vermicelli, and generous slices of chicken make this foie gras feel like a steal at $10. The addition of cilantro and fiery house chili sauce gives it an extra aromatic kick. Number 5, lemon chicken and fried rice value combo at Yummy Garden. It's $6.99. $7 gives you a packed container of crisp, freshly fried chicken coated in a bright lemon sauce alongside simple, satisfying fried rice. It's old school Chinese Canadian comfort food at a price that feels almost unreal. Number 6, spicy beef patty from Norma's Patties, $4.10. This hand-crimped Jamaican patty brings real Scotch bonnet heat and a rich stew-like beef filling wrapped in a flaky, buttery pastry. It's bold, homemade tasting, and stands out in a city full of patties. Number 7, Crimean Talish pie, and that's Talash pie from Future Bakery, which is $4.49. Beneath a sesame top crust is a juicy beef filling, brightened with plenty of fresh dill, giving this Ukrainian meat pie a lighter, tangier finish. It's small but memorable bite that punches above its price. Number 8, pepperoni slice at Dundas Pizza for $4.55. This is a platonic ideal of a neighborhood slice: medium, thin crust, generous cheese pull, and classy, floppy pepperoni. Comforting, filling, and refreshingly unpretentious. It's a Junction staple for a reason. Number 9, chapati, Chevapi, happy hour special at Mrakovic, and that's Mrakovic Fine Food. It's $10. 5 grilled Balkan sausages are made from a beef, veal, and lamb blend, come tucked into a lepinge, Lepinje, with onions and creamy chakmak, Khmak. Available during happy hour, it's a hearty, deeply satisfying meal that feels like a bargain even at full price. Number 10, avocado toast at Quorum Cafe, and that's $5. 2 slices of multigrain toast piled with silky avocado, marinated tomatoes, and a generous mound of goat cheese make this surprisingly gourmet breakfast a steal for just $5. All inside Ontario's Legislative Building. And Karen Liu is a Toronto-based food reporter for The Star. You can reach him via email karonliu@thestar.ca. And you've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the December 29, 2025 issue of the Toronto Star. Your reader has been Judy, and thank you so much for listening and the honor of me reading to you. I will be talking to you next year, and everybody, I say Happy New Year's to every one of you. Thank you so much, and have an amazing day.